Good morning. Donald Trump thinks he's going to get away with this cover up. And really, he will, unless we keep saying this out loud. Ghislaine Maxwell is a villain. She is not a victim. Ghislaine Maxwell is a convicted, incarcerated child molester. You need to know this. Too many people think that all she did was run Jeff Epstein's operation and procure and groom young girls and young women to fulfill his sexual appetite. But that is not correct. She was often literally in the room with him when the abuse was happening and not just present. I need to be clear about this. She was making physical, sexual contact with these girls. I just want to be as clear as I can. Furthermore, when asked, the victims under oath at trial and in depositions made this abundantly clear. Things like Ghislaine referred to these girls and young women who were being unlawfully trafficked and sexually assaulted. She referred to them as slaves at times. I need you to know this because the way the fix is in, I have surmised, is two-part. First, as you probably have noticed in the news programs and the way Donald Trump and his team of sycophants is talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, is as if she could be a trusted source of information and that she is deserving of a pardon. That's how they're talking about her. And in fact, as you probably know, since our show on Friday, it became clear that Donald Trump's defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, who's also doubling as Deputy Attorney General of the United States, that Todd Blanche has granted Ghislaine Maxwell at least limited immunity for the conversations they've had. And we also know that apparently, according to her lawyer and according to the reporting, she was given at least 100 names of men and asked about them. I don't know what she was asked about these men. Maybe they were men whose names appeared, as we have heard, in the filings in the documentation. Not a client list, but a starting point to try to understand their relationships. So we know that. And the key thing is, the way this is going to work is, as I said, twofold. First, Ghislaine is going to have this, and she is having this pardon dangled in front of her. And that pardon will clearly be contingent upon two things. One is her exoneration of Donald Trump, and two is her telling the truth or exaggerating about other powerful men. So there is going to be an exoneration that they're planning for Donald and condemnation of other powerful men. Now, what we don't know is whether these other men that she implicates, even if she does so truthfully, we don't know whether they can still be charged. Because, as I've mentioned before, the corrupt non-prosecution agreement that Jeffrey Epstein had tailor-made for him back in around 2006, 2007, before he went to prison very briefly, only under state charges. That non-prosecution agreement covers other people other than Jeff Epstein. So we deserve to know who that is. Okay. So again, there's two parts to this cover-up. The only way Donald Trump is going to get his public, MAGA and others, to be able to, in their minds, justify the pardoning of Ghislaine Maxwell as if they believe she is a victim. It is our job to over and over again, not just say she was a victimizer, but to say she was a child molester. She is a convicted child molester. She touched those girls. It wasn't just him. Let's be 100% clear about that. Plus, he would not have been able to do what he did if she wasn't out hunting down and grooming these girls for him. That is factual because this is based on the under oath. I'm repeating this as based on the under oath testimony of the victims, as well as what the jury convicted Ghislaine for. So I have no doubt that Donald will pardon her at some point. I don't know how soon that will be. I don't know how long he'll drag this out, but I have no doubt that he will pardon her. Number one. Number two, the second part of this, as I told you, is throwing red meat to the base. There will be names of men who will be tied to criminal activity, period, right? That's part two. On the part two, so for part one, we need to make clear Ghislaine Maxwell is a girl molester. She's a gruesome monster. Ghislaine Maxwell, period. The second part is we cannot trust that she's giving us the whole story if she exonerates Donald Trump, because she has every incentive to do so. And we don't know who else she might be leaving off the list who deserves to be named, right? Those are the two key parts. The third part that they want us to forget is the follow the money story. And there's a ton of information at the Treasury Department that could be released right now that has nothing to do with grand jury testimony, has nothing to do with any of the specific victims, and they're not. So I want to keep focused on those three things. But for today's show, I need you to watch out and be clear. Ghislaine Maxwell is a villain, not a victim. Now, I got a lot of evidence here and a lot to explain to you here, so that you are armed with this as well. And this is huge because Donald Trump, we got the reporting from Allison Gill of Mueller, she wrote. She was the first to report out after Dick Durbin said there were 1,000 FBI analysts panicking or combing through these electronic files after the Trump administration, or Pam Bondi was panicking, right? And that happens, up into the point, it probably starts happening in May when they brief Donald Trump that he is in the files. That was Bondi, Pam Bondi, who's the Attorney General, and Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, let Donald Trump know in May he was mentioned. Then there's this all-out panic mode. Again, Allison Gill reported the panic mode first. Then we saw the New York Times report it, and now the Washington Post is reporting the same thing, not giving Allison credit, saying that it was first reported in the New York Times. But, independent journalists don't always get listened to. Okay, so Donald Trump is still in panic mode. He cannot make this thing go away. So I want to share that with you, and then I want to get you into the details of how bad Ghislaine is. Okay, so Donald Trump he's in England right now. He's over at his golf course in Scotland, Turnberry, and he's been caught on camera cheating. We've seen his caddy drop a ball near where he wants to hit it. We've seen him do that too. So he is a cheater all the way down. Now, that is happening. He is being asked questions about this, and he is kind of getting infuriated about it. So let me share with you right now. I think I've got this. Okay, I'm going to share with you Sarah Ransom, one of Epstein and Maxwell's victims, talk about her role. Let's go.
Almost in her voice. Ghislaine has no soul. And you know yourself what I've been through trying to take her down. And the reason why I've had to go through that is because she's a dangerous human being. She will reoffend, and reoffend. These people never stop. ever.
That is Sarah Ransom. I want to share with you again something I shared before because it is so important, from Maria Farmer, the first victim who no one listened to.
Never met a more predatory, terrifying human being in my entire life, and neither had Virginia Giuffre, and neither has Annie or Anushka or many girls like Shantae Davies. There's hundreds of us that were preyed upon by Ghislaine Maxwell. She's a very dangerous person, and she threatened my life on many occasions. I've had to move and be in hiding because of this predatory child predator and just victim predator. So it's completely unacceptable for anyone to call her a victim. The woman is not a victim. She's a victimizer.
Okay, we've got two there. Now I want to share with you literally from testimony from Ghislaine's trial so you understand this. So I'm going to share the screen. It's a Washington Post story from way back. I'm sorry, it's a CNN story. And this dates back to, I'm going to go to the top. This is from December 29th, 2021. 4 women testified at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial that they were sexually abused. Here's what they said. And I'm sorry for those who may need to turn away from this. I can understand that. Okay, so I want this to go away. I hate when they put ads here. Not sure if I can. Sorry, guys. Okay. So the case against Ghislaine Maxwell primarily relied on the testimony of 4 women who said they were sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein when they were under 18, and that Maxwell facilitated and sometimes participated in that abuse too. So let's just be clear. She was found guilty by a New York jury on 5 of the 6 counts and acquitted on the charge of enticing a minor to travel to engage in sex acts. So they said she faced up to 65 years in prison. We know she was later sentenced to 20. Now, I want to share with you what the victim said. So prosecutors called 24 witnesses across 10 days of testimony. Despite substantial obstacles, prosecutors finished strongly, with Annie Farmer, the 4th and final accuser, to take the stand, providing vivid testimony, Callan said. And this is Paul Callan is a CNN analyst, okay? Testimony from the victims began on November 30th with Jane, that is a pseudonym, who said that Maxwell sometimes joined in on the sexualized massages. Kate testified December 6th that Maxwell set up those sexual meetings. Carolyn testified the next day that Maxwell once touched her breasts, hips, and butt and told her she had a great body for Epstein and his friends. She was 14 at the time, she said. Finally, Farmer, this is Annie Farmer, right? We just saw her older sister, Maria, talk. Okay. Finally, Farmer testified that she was 16 years old when Maxwell massaged her naked chest at Epstein's New Mexico ranch in 1966. Okay, so I'm going to be real. This is not going to be gross, but remember that Jane met Maxwell, I should tell you, at a summer camp when she was 14, where he was a benefactor. In her statement, Jane told law enforcement agents that she wasn't sure if Maxwell ever touched her and didn't remember if she had been present. However, here they are. This is Ghislaine and Jeffrey on one of his airplanes. Kate testified she first met Maxwell through an older boyfriend when she was 17. And, you know, I don't want to even, I'm going to stop sharing. I think you get the idea. That so many witnesses, but these 4 were the main ones. And we have heard repeatedly from their testimony that Ghislaine sometimes literally participated in this sexual assault. That is a fact. Now, what I want to also share with you is to remind you, here she is in prison. This is who we are talking about. They're talking about pardoning. This is an excerpt not from the sentencing memo, but this is an excerpt after she was convicted in plain language from the Department of Justice, saying that she, from 94 through at least 2004, for a decade, Ghislaine Maxwell assisted, facilitated, and participated in Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls by, among other things, helping to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse these people she knew were under the age of 18. She also knew that when she would cause him to travel to her residences in different states, that they would result in their grooming for and subjection to abuse. This is also the piece here about how she would participate, how important she was in actually recruiting girls, because of course Epstein wouldn't be able to do that. Here is Epstein, who died of either suicide or murder in prison. Okay, so we know, as this was from Thursday, that Donald Trump's lawyer, or apparently Deputy Attorney General and former defense attorney, although he seems to wear both hats, is working with Maxwell, trying to first rehabilitate her in the public's eye and then get her to shut up about Donald Trump, but speak out against his enemies. I want to share with you too. This is a quote from a deposition. Who did Emmy work for? Ghislaine. Did Maxwell ever refer to Emmy by any particular name? She called her slave. This was from 2024. I'm guessing this might be related to one of the civil lawsuits involving Ghislaine. Okay, so Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I told you there were two things. One, there is exonerating Donald. Two, there is making sure there is some red meat. There are some people who are served up to the base who deservedly should be. I'm just worried some who don't might be named. But there's going to be exoneration of Donald, serving up of some of his enemies, perhaps. And in order to do that, as I said, they need to exonerate and make Ghislaine, rehabilitate her, and make her look trustworthy. But there's more to this, right? There is a plan to make it look like, I mean, this is crazy, but they want to make it look like that it was under Barack Obama that Jeffrey Epstein got that ridiculous sweetheart non-prosecution agreement. That's what they want to make it seem like. But as you know, it wasn't. You heard me. It wasn't. And you see this absolutely happening everywhere. You see this kind of attempt to blame him. Now we get, I want to share with you Kristen Welker, who kicked ass this weekend, calling out members of the Trump administration who are engaging in this kind of deceptive discourse to make Ghislaine look like something other than the sex offender that she is.
To Ghislaine Maxwell. As you know, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Attorney General spent 2 days interviewing her. She, of course, has been convicted of grooming, recruiting, abusing young teenage girls, along with Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Speaker, Maxwell's attorney said she answered all questions honestly and truthfully, but do you think that Ghislaine Maxwell can be trusted?
Well, I mean, look, it's a good question. I hope so. I hope that she would want to come clean. We certainly are interested in knowing everything that she knows. And as you'll note, in our House Republican majority, we're working towards that. Chairman Comer and our Oversight Committee has already issued their own subpoena. They want to bring in Ghislaine Maxwell as well. I hope she's telling the truth. She is convicted. She is serving a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking. And so her character is in some question. But if she wants to come clean now, that would be a great service to the country, and we'd like to know every single bit of information that she has. I certainly hope she's telling the truth.
Do you see how he's softening her? Even the way at the end, he says, I sure hope she's telling the truth, and she's serving a prison sentence for child sex trafficking. Sexual abuse. She sexually molested these girls. They're avoiding saying that. Don't let them. Trafficking sounds like she was just involved in some kind of monetary arrangement on his behalf. Now, I've got more for you on this. Let's play it.
Spoke to Susan Miller, who's a former senior CIA officer who helped oversee the 2017 intelligence assessment on Russian interference. She says it's completely false that Obama or...
I'm sorry. I just want to, I'm sharing this with you for a reason about Lindsay, but let's just play this again, and you'll see it relates to Epstein.
Spoke to Susan Miller, who's a former senior CIA officer who helped oversee the 2017 intelligence assessment on Russian interference. She says it's completely false that Obama or anyone else asked them to change or sway their investigation. She says they all, she says, and she's a Republican, says they all would have quit if that had happened. Senator, are you trying to rewrite history to distract from the Epstein matter, Senator?
No, I'm trying to let you know.
Are you trying to rewrite history to distract from the Epstein matter? Welker has her gloves on, and she did not take them off. Again, part of what's going on here is part of the red meat is they're trying to blame Obama for everything, including this idea that they were going to charge him for treason. And Welker's saying, you're making this shit up, Lindsay, and it looks like it's a big distraction. So again, part of it is try to distract us, change the subject, move on. We cannot rehabilitate Ghislaine, and we cannot let them change the subject. Now, he's going to, let me be clear, he will pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, and there's nothing we can do to stop that. But we can keep the light on the fact that Donald Trump chose to pardon a child molester for no good reason. They did not need to ask her questions about all these men. They could have, if they wanted to, done a criminal investigation of these men. They did not need her. If they really wanted to know about these men, they could have asked the victims. As you can see, victim testimony resulted in the conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell. How about ask these victims? This is not what Todd Blanche is interested in. This is not what Mike Johnson is interested in. They're interested in making this story go away by exonerating Donald Trump and blaming it on some Democrat. That's all they want to do. I'm here for the victims. I don't care about the political ideology or lack thereof of the abusers. Now, I want to tell you the way the distraction happens. Donald Trump has tried everything. You've seen it. The latest yesterday was threatening to prosecute Beyonce, thinking that will just make people crazy. Again, a distraction. And let's just share with you the reason. I don't even know what the legal theory is, but the factual claim is unfounded. He is claiming that Kamala Harris's campaign somehow paid Beyonce $11 million to endorse her. Okay, let's play this because Dan Dale, fact checker on CNN, said this is bullshit. And obviously this is a distraction, but I just want to give you some facts here.
I found that this claim about an $11 million payment is imaginary. This simply did not happen. There is not one shred of evidence that the Harris campaign or any other Democrat paid Beyonce anything like $11 million for an endorsement. Now, this claim began circulating among random Trump supporters on social media last year. It's been repeatedly investigated by fact-check outlets. No one has produced any support for it. The White House did not comment when I reached out this time. Now, federal election spending records do show that the Harris campaign made a $165,000 payment to Beyonce's production company after this event you're seeing where Beyonce endorsed then Vice President Harris at an event in Houston in October 2024. But two things about that. First of all, there's no evidence that this was payment for an endorsement. The Harris campaign said that they're obligated by law to cover the ancillary costs related to celebrity appearances when celebrities come to their events. And second of all, $165,000 is a far cry from 11 million. That figure just seems to have been fabricated, invented out of thin air. So I reached out to the Harris campaign about this. They pointed me to a post last year from Beyonce's mother, Tina Knowles, who posted that it was a lie and noted that it had been taken down as false information by Instagram at the time. Beyonce's own spokesperson told PolitiFact in November 2024 that this claim is, quote, beyond ridiculous.
Okay, beyond ridiculous, except for the fact that he's trying to do anything to get this story out of the press, right? He is trying to do anything to get us to focus on something else. Okay, now I want to, since we just saw Kristen Welker talk with Mike Johnson, I want you to hear a reaction from his colleague in the Senate, Massey.
Speaker Mike Johnson has defended that decision. He says, look, the White House is already pushing for the release of the grand jury materials. Obviously, that's been held up in court. He's accusing you of trying to inflict political pain on your party by criticizing him for adjourning the House early. Is he right? Are you trying to inflict political pain with this criticism?
I don't know why it should be politically painful to be transparent. Is the pain he's talking about that somebody in our party will be embarrassed by those files? Then that's not a good excuse. Is the pain he's talking about is that the legislators, when they vote, have to pick between protecting embarrassment of the rich and powerful versus getting justice for victims? I don't really understand what he means by that. Why is it painful for Mike Johnson to call a vote on this? And it's, the American people deserve this, regardless of what the political ramifications are for the speaker.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Rep. Tom Massey gets it. Now, it wasn't just Kristen Welker who was holding people's feet to the fire over the weekend, but Jake Tapper was totally on it. And I want to share this clip because this goes to the try to blame Obama for everything, and including the Epstein situation, right? That is part of the tactic. And so I want to share with you Jake Tapper on I think the show is called State of the Union, and he's talking to Mark Wayne Mullen. And just to be clear, in case you're spelling it, Mark Wayne is one word. Okay, let's play it.
And that's why Attorney General Bondi
if the
was
case
saying
is
for
sealed,
well, then tell me why for
no.
months she was saying that she's going to release the information tomorrow.
We made the assumption that the judges would release the order and allow the evidence that they had that it could be heard. But it's all been sealed. And so if it's been a sealed case, we can't release it until the judges allow us to release it. And you would think common sense would play. That's why they asked for transparency. We want transparency. We want the judges to have transparency in this too. But remember, there was a plea deal that was struck in 2009, way before I was in office, way before Trump was even considering to be in office, way before Pam Bondi was in office, way before Cash.
So this is what I meant when I kept saying, obviously Obama was president from 2009. He was elected in 2008. He's president from 2009 until January of 2017, the 20th, right? We know that's when Obama was president. I think I was getting the Biden thing confused, but I just want to be clear. What is he saying? He's about to claim, as I mentioned earlier, that it was under Barack Obama that this sweetheart plea deal happened. Listen carefully.
Remember, there was a plea deal that was struck in 2009, way before I was in office, way before Trump was even considering to be in office, way before Pam Bondi was in office, way before Kash Patel was director. 2009, there was a sweetheart plea deal that was made underneath the Obama administration with Epstein.
Right. That's not
and
right.
that sweetheart has not been exposed.
No, it was 2000.
Oh, it's not? Well, when was the case heard?
It was 2008. It was the U.S. attorney at the time was a guy named Alex Acosta.
Right.
He was a Bush appointee. He went on to become President Trump's Secretary of Labor. It all took place in 2008.
Who was in office at the time?
2008, George W. Bush.
Who was in office at the time?
George W. Bush.
No, 2009 is when the case came out, and it was and Obama was in office at the time.
It's not true.
It's not true. He went to prison in 2008. The deal was struck as part of that, and Obama was not yet in office yet, period. first of all. So George W. Bush was in office when the first Epstein case came up, and it got settled out of Florida State Court, and the Justice Department, Acosta, who was down in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Florida, again, Republican appointee, Republican president, arranged for an incredible sweetheart deal where Epstein would not be charged with federal crimes, and neither would some other men who have never been named. Again, that was under a president who was a Republican, George W. Bush. Secondly, as you also know, I think you also know, when Epstein was charged the next time, right? When Epstein was charged in 2019 and committed suicide in prison, I think you know that Donald Trump was president then as well. Okay, just so we all get that straight. Again, they're doing everything they can to pin this on Obama or Biden. They're trying to not have their fingerprints on this. Now, I got to give you a tiny bit more information. Remember, the part is exoneration, but also implication. Exoneration of Trump, implication of Trump's enemies, all the while treating Ghislaine like a victim and hero. That's the plan. So how does this work? Well, I was very concerned about something Dan Bongino, who is the deputy FBI director under Kash Patel, right? I'm concerned that Don Bongino, some tweet he put out is probably him maybe figuring out a way that he can feel better about himself by giving some people up. So he's hinting at something. It's either a distraction or a distraction from Donald Trump's involvement in this cover-up and willingness to meet with this child molester, Ghislaine Maxwell. Let me play you this from this roundtable on MSNBC.
Brandy, I want to ask you about Dan Bongino and something that he posted the other day. Very cryptic post, saying like that he's going to eventually be able to bring people the truth and kind of signaling that something that he's learned in his tenure.
It's a little dramatic.
It was a little dramatic.
Cliffhanger of sorts.
But he seems to be, I will say, given the reporting and also his own sort of public commentary, he does seem to be very rattled in his role. Like he's gone from being this guy at a podcast mic who was very confident in the stuff he was spreading and engaging in on that platform to getting into this role where he was supposed to help dismantle the deep state to now he seems a little genuinely rattled, I guess, and concerned about whatever he's experiencing in his role. What do you think is going on there?
Oh, God. Well, he once called me the dumbest woman in news, so I want to be really clear about my bias here. But listen, podcasting for the MAGA base is the sweetest gig you can get. It is, it's just hot, and he had the sauce, and everybody loved him, and he was promising all this stuff, and it was like great. And now he is in the FBI, and as he described it, he misses his wife. He does not like working all the time, and now he's in this impossible. That was his words.
And you mean to say working in the FBI is harder than yapping in front of a microphone at home?
Well, I guess so. And now he's in this, poor guy. He is in such a pickle now because he's in this place where his fans are like, wait a minute, record scratch, where's the things that you were going to unearth? And he promised all of this. And then he got in, and then, the memo came out, and everyone was like, what happened to Dan? And so now his fan base, his loyal fans, all think that he's, the deep state now. And he's really in this spot. I do feel bad for him. The post, that's on the screen right now is, if I just unbiased, it's unhinged. He says he's shaken to the core. And this, to me, is very much more of trust the plan. It's signaling that I am shaken. I am not the deep state, and I promise something is coming. But as Marjorie Taylor Greene so wisely said recently, you cannot keep shaking red meat in front of the base, and you have to give them a stake at some point. So what is Bongino going to come up with?
And that's the question, right? So we need to be careful here. Anyone who was involved in this in a way that was criminal and harmed or participated in the abuse of children should be held accountable. And my concern is that because so many of these men were entered into this confidential non-disclosure agreement, when they announce anything about this, they're going to have to, I hope they're honest about it, but what they keep saying is we didn't see anything that was criminal, right? Or could be charged criminally. So there could be many people, there could be 10, 20, 30, 40, I don't know how many, 5 men who cannot be charged criminally for their behavior because it preceded the time frame that the settlement was for, that secret settlement that Republican appointee Acosta, who Donald Trump has further, elevated in his administration, that Acosta had entered into with the help of lawyers like Alan Dershowitz, because there's a whole bunch of them who cannot be charged in theory unless that settlement is opened. I don't know why they would open it up. It's unfair. But because they can't be charged, they might not even be discussed, right? So we've got an issue there that the cover-up with this non-disclosure is baked in to any red meat that we be given. They're going to be terrible criminals, creeps, and molesters who get away with this. Now, Donald Trump, as I mentioned, is off in England and off in the UK, and he's been, cheating on his golf course in Scotland, and he cannot get away from this. The press is all over him. I don't know if you would be able to understand this guy's accent, but he's saying, are you, at the very beginning, because it's kind of rushed here, are you trying to rush through this EU deal to distract from Epstein? Let's listen to that.
This deal done to knock Jeffrey Epstein's story out.
Oh, you got to be kidding with that. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that. That had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, so are you trying to rush this through or hurry this through to knock the Epstein story out of the news? I think he was going to be working on the stupid tariff plans regardless, but I'm glad that people are asking him overseas what is going on. Now, I'm going to have some crazy town for you later about that very strange period of time. Now, I got some other stuff that you may not know about. My friend Wajahat Ali had a guest on his show on Substack, and the guest was a guy named Leland Nally. And Leland, this is a story that was published in October of 2020, 5 years ago, my friends. And here was the story. It was entitled, in Mother Jones, I called everyone in Jeffrey Epstein's little book. And what I learned about rich people, conspiracy, genius, Ghislaine, stand-up comedy, and evil from 2000 phone calls. I can't read you the whole article, but I'm going to share a little bit with you. But first, let me drop this into the chat. This is really worth reading as an article. And so I'm going to come over here and share some of this with you to encourage you to take the time yourself when you have a moment to read it. Unlike anything else, I just want to say, you see people repeating stories over and over again. This is something new. Okay, so here we go. This is, again, October in 2020. And I'm going to give you the intro and then make some things clear, give you the context. Jeffrey Epstein's Little Black Book is one of the most cursed documents ever compiled in this miserable, dying country. And I'm just going to make myself bigger because you can follow along at home here. Okay. Totaling 97 pages and containing the names, numbers, and addresses of a considerable cross-section of the global elite, Epstein's personal contact book first turned up in a courtroom in 2009 after his former butler, Alfredo Rodriguez, tried to sell it to lawyers representing Epstein's victims for $50,000. Rodriguez described the book, apparently assembled by Epstein's employees, as the Holy Grail. It is annotated with cryptic marginalia, stars next to certain entries, arrows pointing toward others, and the names of at least 38 people are circled for reasons that aren't totally clear. There are 1,571 names in all, with roughly 5,000 phone numbers and thousands of emails and home addresses. And again, I'm reading to you from Leland Nally's article from 5 years ago. There are celebrities, princes and princesses, high-profile scientists, artists from all over the world, all alongside some of the world's most powerful oligarchs and political leaders. People like Prince Andrew, circled. Ehud Barak, circled. Donald Trump, circled. Rodriguez was Epstein's butler at his Palm Beach mansion for many years. He was intimately familiar with his boss's sexual proclivities. He claimed to have seen nude underage girls at Epstein's pool, said they would routinely wipe down and stow away sex toys in Epstein's room after quote unquote massages, and allegedly that he saw child pornography on Epstein's personal computer. By the way, Rodriguez was sentenced to 18 months in prison for trying to sell this book to an undercover agent. Ultimately, he died after serving his sentence of mesothelioma, which is a lung disease. So what's interesting about this article is the book. It's not little. He said it's gargantuan. And he said that he thinks it's possible that it was Ghislaine Maxwell who had kept it, this book, for him, perhaps. He called 2,000 people. He said he spoke to billionaires, CEOs, bankers, models, and celebrities, a Kennedy, and some of Epstein's closest friends. This is kind of an incredible article. And for me, the most interesting piece of this, which I want you to read at some point, was the conversation that he had with a guy named Pivar, who talked about, let's see, what is Pivar's first name? At any rate, Pivar spoke with him on and then regretted having been recorded and spoken to him and tried to threaten him not to publish it. At any rate, I'm going to stop sharing that, but it corroborates so much of what we have talked about. It addresses some of the issues of how Epstein made his money. At any rate, one other thing is people have all been recently talking about a documentary series called Filthy Rich. I read the book several years ago when it first came out. It was by James Patterson. You can see there are Post-its in here. It's also a thing I recommend that you read, because what you see here is the backstory around how Jeffrey Epstein used threats to get his way. When the article that was going to be published in Vanity Fair was coming out, and had that article actually been honest about his sexually assaulting 14-year-old girls and so on, then this could have ended a hell of a lot earlier. And that was something I want to share with you. What I also want to share with you is this. This book makes clear that at least in Epstein's Palm Beach home, he had secret cameras recording things. So no doubt he had the same setup in New York. This book also goes into detail about Ghislaine's role. And I want to make clear that it was copyright 2016. So it was published in October of 2016 in hardcover before Donald Trump was elected, and then April of 2017. And it's astonishing the threats that were made to get people to be quiet. Okay, now I got something else for you before I get to Crazy Town. This Trump administration is pretty much, I would have to say, sorry about that. I would have to say this administration is pretty much crooks, creeps, and fascists and white supremacists all the way down. So what, in terms of the crooks, I don't know if you've heard this, but that supposed free plane from Qatar is now going to cost us $1 billion. Donald Trump had money moved from a Pentagon project to modernize nuclear weapons to support his flying palace. This was this white elephant that Donald Trump is trying to pretend that it's good for the government, but it will be donated to his library probably. This is all a vanity project. Also, this is unbelievably shocking, but this is from Robert Reich, he's a professor and former Secretary of Labor. Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, you've heard him before. He lies better than anyone else. He just relaxed export restrictions on AI, artificial intelligence chip manufacturers, AMD and NVIDIA. What does that mean? It means that these companies will be more successful and profitable. Guess what? Howard Lutnick's family business empire holds a combined $1.1 billion stake in both companies. Reich, as he put it, conflict of interest is an understatement. Now, you may say to yourself, why does Trump let this guy get away with it? I don't know, but do you know something about Howard Lutnick? Wait till you hear this, and I've got to blow this up a little bit bigger. Howard Lutnick, the other day, this is pretty funny, Howard Lutnick said, where are the experts now? Because he's trying to claim everything's going well with the tariffs, which they're not. Brett Macelis from Midas Touch Brothers there, and Macelis Brothers said, did you tweet this from Jeffrey Epstein's old house? What you might not know, and then I'm going to come over here, what you might not know is it's kind of crazy, but Howard Lutnick purchased a home at a pretty cheap rate from one of Jeff Epstein's companies. Remember, Jeff Epstein was able to get Les Wexner's mansion in New York himself, and he purchased it through some kind of trust. Well, apparently that same entity had purchased a nearby, maybe next door, same block mansion in New York, and Lutnick has that now. Very weird coincidence. Okay, so let me also add crooks all the way down and white supremacists. This is possibly one of the most concerning things and is another reason to abolish ICE. I'm going to share this with you. This is a piece, and I'll give you the whole article in the Texas Observer. Let me just throw it into the chat, and then I'll share it with you. Here's the key point. Revealed, we identified the operator of an overtly racist X account called Glomar Responder. This is an X, a Twitter account, as ICE Assistant Chief Counsel James Roden, based on an overwhelming number of biographical details matched through publicly available documents, other social media activity, and court observation. Let's share that. It means someone high up in ICE is a Nazi. Sorry, I've got to give you this screen. I just threw it in the chat, and I want you to be able to see it. This is from the publication, the Texas Observer, and this is an article from February of this year. Is it new? No. Is it news? Yes. Yes, we need to focus on this. ICE prosecutor in Dallas runs white supremacist X account. This is huge. Okay, this is an ICE prosecutor in Dallas. Reading this, fear of immigration and customs enforcement, ICE raids began to spread the day after President Donald Trump was inaugurated, right? We know about this. It says the same Tuesday morning, an X account with over 17,000 followers named Glomar Responder made an ominous post, quote, yeah, I'm in a courthouse waiting on warrants. Turns out there's a lot of bitch work to be done to make mass deportations happen. Not great. Why isn't this at the center of the news, right? These are crooks, creeps, and white supremacists. I want to also add to the stage, this is recent, from Tucson, border agent charged with child sex trafficking. Okay. These are unvetted racist loyalists who are crooks, and it goes all the way through this Trump administration. Okay, friends, one last thing, because I got to get to the money, not just the law. is this. Donald Trump is not making America great again, and he's hurting American businesses. His trade deal that he has now entered into with the EU, under it, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and other European automakers are getting a 4 billion euros earnings lift from the trade deal. They're saying, which is 4.7 billion US dollars. Good job, Donald Trump. Good job. Okay. So one last thing before Crazy Town, I want to play again for you so you see how creepy this is. Donald Trump wishing Ghislaine Maxwell well with a veiled threat against her about dying in prison. Let's play this.
President, the other day a reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote,
Hold on one second. And this was several years ago, right? This is probably, I'm guessing, around 2021 or 2020.
President, the other day a reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote, I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is. Mr. President, Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person
first of all,
well?
I don't know that, but I do know that
She has. She's been arrested for that. You know
her
that.
friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed?
Okay, so I checked. This is 2020. It's before her. The jury found her guilty. They found her guilty at the end of 2021. So good luck to her. Remember, I wonder whether he was hoping there wouldn't be a trial, just like he had died, just like the boyfriend had. Let me just rewind this a little bit. Listen carefully.
Guilty. I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking bad for anybody. And they took that and
I mean, she's a child
such
alleged child sex
a
trafficking.
big deal. But all it is her boyfriend died. He died in jail.
Over and over again, her boyfriend died. He died in jail. They're making it such a big deal. I don't wish ill on anybody, bad for anybody. Come on. That's all he does. All he does is have grievances against people. Then she was an alleged child molester and trafficker. Now she's convicted, and he's still wishing her well. Let's go to Crazy Town, my friends. Here we go. Okay, Crazy Town is over in Europe, where Donald Trump is, or maybe there, I think he's probably in Scotland. At any rate, over abroad, where he's meeting with the head of the EU, Donald Trump started talking about wind turbines, what he calls windmills. And it's utterly absurd what he says. And just let me be clear to you. I'll make clarity after. Let's play this.
It ruins the landscape. It kills the birds. They're noisy. You have a certain place in the Massachusetts area that over the last 20 years had 1 or 2 whales wash ashore. And over the last short period of time, they had 18. Okay? Because it's driving them loco. It's driving them crazy. Now, windmills will not come. It's not going to happen in the United States. And it's very expensive. And I would love to see. I mean, today I'm playing the best course, I think, in the world, Turnberry. Even though I own it, it's probably the best course in the world, right? And I look over the horizon and I see 9 windmills. It's like, great.
Okay, I got to stop with him. There are turbines in the U.S. There has never been any evidence that, and I've looked at NOAA's website, there's no evidence of any whale deaths tied to wind turbines. So he's just making that up in Massachusetts or anywhere in the United States. I got a double dose of Crazy Town for you. As you know, the suffering and genocide in Gaza continues. Major Jewish organizations, including Reform Jewish denomination, which is how I was raised, are obviously denouncing what's going on, the starvation in Gaza, this extenuated punishment of the Gazan people for what Hamas did in October of 2023. The effort to release the hostages, all of that should have been done. The goal, obviously, by the Trump administration is to try to remove the people of Gaza. It is horrific. And now Donald Trump, I mean, in the only characteristic way, and by the way, we continue to provide not just defensive weapons like the Iron Dome, but offensive weapons to Israel despite this, or maybe because of it. And Donald Trump, his main focus is the U.S. Apparently, we're giving a relatively small amount of money for food aid. And this pig is complaining that he hasn't been thanked. Let's play it.
Fed right now. To me, that's the number one position, because you have a lot of starving people. You have people that, the United States recently, just a couple of weeks ago, we gave $60 million. It's a lot of money. No other nation gave money. I know the Prime Minister would if he knew about it, and
I cannot listen to the bagpipes. It is unbelievable. But let me just say to you, we can focus on this. Do not drop the ball. Donald Trump covering up for himself and other wealthy, well-connected men and powerful people is all tied to the whole way that his fascist administration wants to operate. He can do what he wants with the pardons, but he cannot rewrite history. Not this time. No way in hell. See you guys tomorrow.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub show where welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub show where welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub show where welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub show.